Today's guest on ArtSound FM has accrued a staggering 19 Golden Guitar or ARIA awards and is a national treasure when it comes to his songwriting, producing, mentoring and performance. With a career spanning 3 decades, Shane Nicholson is about to embark on a series of concerts with Sara Storer and Shane Howard. They're joining forces in an extraordinary live collaboration showcasing the craft, power and legacy of Australian songwriting. Welcome to ArtSound FM, Shane.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No problem. Shane, there's so much to talk about given your long career as an artist. You're a prolific songwriter, possibly a few hundred songs in the bag, and you're considered a songwriter's songwriter. Can you step us through briefly your songwriting evolution?
I guess in a nutshell, it was songwriting that made me play music in the first place, and it's what keeps me still playing music. It was the desire to create something, to write something that didn't exist. That's what made me learn an instrument in the first place. That was what the bug was. I was writing songs before I learned to play an instrument. I was trying to, play them, but it was always that desire to create, to write. The idea of building something that didn't exist, that morning and then going to sleep with something new in the world, that has always been the driving force for me and still is.
And it's fascinating that you had already written a song before you could play an instrument. I like that idea.
I didn't even know how to tune my guitar. I was just making it all up as I went, but I wanted to create. So I was putting the horse before the cart. I was certainly writing songs before I knew how to play anything.
Yeah, that's fabulous. And obviously, it's standard when interviewing a songwriter to ask questions about how did you write the song? What comes first? The melody, lyrics, something else, all of that sort of stuff. But with you, there's no need. You released How to Write a Song on the Living in Colour album. And of course, yeah. It's an absolute banger. It has honesty and reflections on being a professional songwriter. Just before we discuss it, I wanted to quote a couple of lines if I could. So you pour your heart out on the page, then spend your life waiting backstage. If you're lucky, it'll grow some wings and fly, and you'll play the damn thing till the day you die. So a lot of realism in that. Why did you write that song?
Well, that is part of the catch-22, right, of being a musician. And you're writing songs all the time and you want people to hear them. Every now and then, if you're lucky, you might have this breakthrough song. And we've all known artists who've had a really big song and their whole career kind of hinges off that song. And it ends up being, in so many cases, a thorn in their side because so much emphasis is placed on that song and they're known for one song, whereas every writer has hundreds of songs that they're precious about and, not just one. And so I guess it's just alluding to that fact that it's very common for an audience member to sit in the audience and watch Don McLean sing American Pie is a very special moment. But he's singing it thousands and thousands of times for everybody in every audience in every city. And so there's just I guess it's acknowledgement of the fact that there's a human behind those songs and there's a human being that has to live in that world, and it's certainly a mixed blessing sometimes, I guess.
And Shane, I'd like to explore a little bit your writing style, which I think is known for, in particular, economy of lyrics, so nothing gets wasted, emotional realism about, relationships, struggle and resilience, and also subtle humour and irony. And I think audiences tap into your authenticity and connect with you because you're unafraid to open up in ways that folks can relate to. Is that how you see yourself?
I guess I don't think about it, but that's really nice to hear that said back to me. All those things are things I'm very proud of, I guess.
And you should be.
I don't really think about it. I guess maybe the idea of analysing it too much scares me because if I understand it, I may not be able to do it anymore. So as far as the process goes anyway. But yeah, I think all of those things come as a byproduct of the reason I do it. And the reason I do it is because I write songs for me. If other people identify with them or get something out of it, it's such a bonus. But it's really my therapy. It's my outlet. There's no point doing it if I'm not going to be honest or put myself into it or have fun with it. Sometimes it's just absurd. It's just, but I remember a pivotal moment as a writer years and years ago. I was writing an album which was called Bad Machines. So it was quite a while ago, about 2009, and I had a very major light bulb moment during the writing of that album was when I realized that in a song, everything is suspended. The laws of physics don't apply. No rules apply. You're the master of the universe in a song, and you can create and structure an entirely new universe with new parameters. And that was the turning point for songwriting for me when I realized, and I'd already made half a dozen albums at that point, but that's when I thought, wow, I can actually take this anywhere. I can do anything I want in a song. There is just no rule, and I love that. And it certainly was a newfound freedom, I guess, I discovered.
That's actually a really interesting and powerful way to put it. And I know that idea of creating the universe and then inhabiting it, that resonates with some of the people you work with. And obviously you're now at a stage in your career where you're mentoring emerging artists, including producing their music, helping them achieve their goals. And you've been named Producer of the Year at the Country Music Awards twice. So I guess I'm wondering, given all of that extra work, how much of yourself do you give to that end? And do you ever feel that giving so much to others detracts from your own songwriting, your own universe that you're creating for the songs that you write? Or is it yet another creative outlet that sustains you?
That's exactly what it is. It's another creative outlet. The only thing it takes away is time, but it always gives me more inspiration to work with more people. I love working with new artists, especially because I remember what it was like being new and how it's overwhelming with the options you've got when you're making new music, and to have somebody who's done it before and gone through that process, I think it's a cool thing, and I love being able to be part of that. I think I probably spend more time producing now than I do doing anything else. I do it much more often than anything else, and I now devote time to the different things. If I want to write, I'll book it into my calendar and I'll travel somewhere and write. And I think I couldn't do one without the other anymore. For me, there's only so much time and brain power I can spend on myself, and it gives me a good outlet. Someone else's music, I get to play instruments and work on music that I wouldn't necessarily write or make, and then I bring all that sort of back to my music. I've created this work balance where I love being in the studio and being creative, and every time I've been in there for too long and get cabin fever, I book a tour and I go on the road. And then once I've had enough of people and I need to be a hermit again, I'll book time back in the studio. And I just kind of flip-flop between the two, and it keeps me balanced and always creative, and happy. So, yeah, I couldn't do one without the other. I love every facet of what I do, whether it's writing with people, producing with other people, writing on my own, touring on my own, collaborating with friends. But some of my best friends are in my band, so that's a real big bonus for me when we're touring and playing shows together. And it's there is just no facet of it that is not enjoyable or amazing. It's like it's just such an incredible blessing to be able to do it on a day, to wake up in the morning and think I'm just going to make music today in whatever fashion is a very cool thing.
That is very cool, and you're getting a lot out giving back to people, and they're getting a lot from your input, so that's pretty wonderful. And I also wondered, thinking back to where it all started for you with Pretty Violent Stain, I've heard you comment on how things have changed so much in the music industry, and that artists now have no choice but to endlessly self-promote to sell their music. And I'd really love to hear your thoughts on the direction of the music industry, particularly what music means to you in a world that seems to increasingly be challenging us on multiple fronts.
It is. I agree with that. It's very challenging. And I see it now through my son's eyes. He's 18. He's making his first album, and he's obsessed with music just like I was. But I'm seeing it through his eyes now, and it's a very different landscape to be starting a music career than it was when I was 18, And yes, things have changed. The delivery systems of music has changed, now streaming world and all of that. And the way that we promote, our media has changed. So yes, people are having to constantly self-promote now. There's not as many outlets, and we're sort of trying to get ourselves out there as much as possible. And it's still a change for me. I feel like some kind of anachronistic old dude who's, like I feel like I'm the old guard who's trying desperately to keep up with new technology. But the thing about it is, though, there's a flip side to that coin. And the thing about it is that now we're forging, through the artists using social media and their own publicity avenues, they're forging a connection with their own audience. Rather than in the old days, we used to blanket promote across the world, and whoever kind of bought into it or liked it, they would become your audience. Now we're creating a direct channel with an audience, and another person's audience may not even cross paths with it. And it's like we've got this direct line of communication now with an audience. Instead of, it used to be through newspapers and television and all of that, but now it's sort of direct. You can write something and speak to all of your followers in a few seconds flat. So there's good and bad. And I think, yes, it's changing. The industry is definitely difficult. The music industry is making, by and large, a lot less money. So there's a lot of ways that we've had to, certainly from producer's point of view, we're trying very hard to make records that still sound like they used to cost a lot of money and for a very small amount of money now, so, but there's ways to do it as technology improves, and certainly COVID taught us ways to make music more efficiently. So yeah, they're challenges. It's just challenges, I guess, facing the technology moving forward, and we just have to adapt. And the bottom line is that the only thing that hasn't changed is music. Making music is still a passion for people, and it still gives us feelings. That hasn't changed, and I think that's always what's going to keep it on the straight and narrow. That's what's going to keep us going.
And that's a very nice segue into the question I had for you next, actually, Shane. And obviously, getting back to the For the Sake of the Song tour, starting in the second week of May, and you've got yourself and two other fabulous songwriters, Sara Storer and Shane Howard, and the concerts are going to be scheduled in places like Sydney and Melbourne and rural Victoria, but we're thrilled that you're kicking off the tour right here in Canberra at the Street Theatre on Tuesday the 12th of May. So what is For the Sake of the Song, and how did it come about, and what can audiences expect?
It was a little idea I had bubbling away in the back of my head a number of years ago during COVID. I really wanted to see a show happen where I could put a couple of different songwriters together, people who kind of had either worked together or had some kind of connection, but in an environment where they could do a performance where the song became the focus rather than the performance. So obviously the performance is still part of it, but it's all about acknowledging the song. And the idea was spawned by a song I wrote for my latest record. It was called Harvest on Vinyl, and it's about the fact that Neil Young's Harvest album was a very pivotal moment for me when I found that as a teenager. It kind of set me on my path, and it's remained a soundtrack all the way through my life. And I thought, wow, I wish I could sit in the concert and hear him tell me about the stories behind these songs, not so much what they're about, but where he was when he wrote them, what he was going through in his life. And because there is a human behind all these songs, and I wanted to create some kind of show where that was the main of the show, was for people to see inside the songs. And I knew from the outset I wanted Sara and Shane to do it with me because, I've grown up listening to Shane's music, but I've gotten to know him too, and I know personality-wise it would fit with us. Musically, the Venn diagram of our audiences and our music it crosses over, but there's still room there for new people to hear it. And I just thought it would be something really special to put on. And there's a band, and it's a full show, and we're all playing songs together and separately. And but it's really about focusing on the songs, the stories that go with the songs, and appreciating the power of songs, and the fact that they can become soundtracks to our lives, and they can become quite important to people, and I think that just something that I hadn't seen before, and it was just a show that I wanted to watch, and I thought, if I bought a ticket, I'd love to watch this show. So
yeah. And it's fascinating to me because there's going to be the three of you getting together to do this. And undoubtedly, you will learn and evolve and build this whole experience as it goes along. And we've had this conversation now, but it'd be fantastic to have it again as a retrospective and see what you thought about the results, because I'm sure that you're all going to grow as people by doing this as well.
Absolutely. I think we definitely will. And we are kicking it off in Canberra, you're right. And we're only doing half a dozen shows on this run just to see how the concept works and just give it a crack. And if it works really great, we'll just keep adding shows. And the original idea was for the tour to happen annually with different artists every time. And I'm still thinking about that being that's the ultimate goal, is for the sake of the song to become a concept, and every year it happens and I'll put a new lineup together. And so I think you're right, it will evolve, and I think it's going to translate as something quite special.
Well, it sounds like a great idea to us. Shane Nicholson, it's been our pleasure having you on ArtSound FM. Thank you so much for talking with us, and we do wish you we wish you all the very best For the Sake of the Song tour. It is such a brilliant concept, and we're sure many music lovers will want to check it out. Thank you.
Thanks so much. That's a great interview. Thank you.